So I'm not trying to move there. I'm not trying to have a big break. I'm not trying to blow up or anything like that. I think I'm pursuing a strategy that will gradually grow to the degree I plan on it growing. To be clear, I'm not going to LA to try to move there or to try to get famous or anything like that. I am going in part for fun because I've never been there, in part because there are some people there I'd like to meet who I know, and then in part because I want to kind of make some waves for sure. And LA is an obvious place to do that, just because if I have an event there, it can have a little bit more of a splash than it would in Albuquerque or whatever. So yeah, there's a slight kind of strategic element to it in that regard. You know, I do like having impact, right? I'm very interested in how intellectuals can think strategically about maximizing impact, but that's not actually hype chasing or clout chasing. I have no kind of career ambition to like blow up in LA or something like that, or meet a bunch of famous people and really have my break or something like that. In fact, I have a whole philosophy or a whole kind of strategic perspective in which I have no need for breaks. I'm not looking for any big break now or in the future. I've never needed one. In fact, the kind of strategy that I have used up until now, and which I plan on continuing as far as I can tell, is what I sometimes refer to as a lateral strategy. Like, nothing I've ever done has been about trying to get more and more famous people. I've built everything I've built up until now with people at kind of my level of fame and influence or below. What I've really tried to do is find quality and interesting stuff where other people aren't looking. And that often means people with less status than you and fewer followers than you. So I've pursued this kind of lateral strategy of just looking around me for what's interesting and cool and fun, and working with that. I've actively kind of made the decision to not climb upward and kind of social ladders. I almost never try to kind of, insinuate myself into someone's podcast if they're a famous person or whatever. I pretty much don't play that game whatsoever. And for many people, it is kind of the standard game that you play. I mean, I sometimes will invite on the podcast someone who's a little bit more famous than me or something like that, but it's certainly not optimizing for that. It's kind of an incidental feature when that does happen. I'm not saying I'm like completely some sort of innocent, non-strategic type of person who doesn't take these things into consideration somewhat to make things grow effectively, but it's not at all what I'm optimizing for, and I never have. And in fact, to the degree I've been successful, it's been by actually wagering myself on people who are either equal or less famous than me or whatever, and I plan on continuing to do that. However, I do just sometimes want to do things in a big city or whatever, because you do get that little bit of extra kind of splash and impact just because there's more people, and making interesting new connections is good. And if they happen to be a little bit more famous, like that can be nice for the growth of the projects and all. But yeah, I'm not optimizing for that. So I'm not trying to move there. I'm not trying to have a big break. I'm not trying to blow up or anything like that. I think I'm pursuing a strategy that will gradually grow to the degree I plan on it growing according to this kind of strategic logic. The other thing I would say, and people might not know this because I don't really talk about this that much, but my wife and I do have a plan, more or less, a kind of vision, if you will. We don't know exactly how it's going to work out, but it does not include living in a place like LA, or that's not in the cards really. So no, I'm not trying to move there. I'm not trying to do anything like that. I'm not trying to make it big in LA. My wife and I might as well talk about this since I've mentioned it. My wife and I have done a lot of talking over the past few months about what we want to do next. And as most of you will know, we are living in Albuquerque right now. I'm less than 1 year out of academia. And over the past year, the goal has been to basically just build up my systems outside of academia, my kind of intellectual production systems, but also improve the financial viability of all the stuff that I'm doing, the podcast, the live stream, the blogging and the books and all of the whole system of my new kind of intellectual life, totally outside of institutions. And I've had enough success with that it looks like if I can just basically keep on the trajectory I'm currently on, then I can make a living doing what I'm doing pretty much now full-time forever. I think that's a reliable kind of expectation based on the data. Part of this is because I do have this kind of business side project, which I haven't talked that much about, the indiethinkers.org. That is essentially a business model. So that has been a major benefit to my kind of situation and my kind of strategy for becoming financially viable over the past year and the next year. But we're basically already on a track where I have a reasonable expectation that we're going to be fine financially, and I'll be able to keep doing all this stuff more or less full time. But we're probably never going to be, I mean, I'm not expecting to ever be super famous or super successful on any of these things, making mad money. Like, all I've ever wanted in my life is just enough money to be able to do intellectual work full time, independently, and with my kind of characteristic, just zeal, my interest in doing that and nothing else, with no compromises, and just being intellectually as creative and honest and yeah, powerful as possible, pretty much. That's all I've ever wanted. So my only goal has been to make just enough money to be able to do that and have the basic desires in life, like support my wife and hopefully have a baby and be able to have some sort of stable, comfortable living arrangement. But I've never been looking for like mega fame or like mega riches. So what we have decided, as we've kind of evaluated our options and discussed many different things, and the other kind of desires that we have in our life, is we're probably sometime in the next year going to try to move to a location that is very cheap, essentially, and ideally somewhere beautiful. So we have considered a few different options, and we've even driven around and checked out places. But it looks like we might aim for somewhere in the Appalachian area, kind of the West Carolinas or Tennessee, Northern Georgia, Virginia, because you can find super cheap houses and it's beautiful and it's halfway between her family and my family. So we want to have a baby. We want to just settle down and we want to live affordably so that I can remain maximally free and creative and not dependent on money and chasing money. So that is the plan. And I think I'm actually already on the trajectory to be able to afford something very basic, very simple. And yeah, so that's going to be a whole bunch of kind of interesting logistical challenges and questions. But that is, as far as my wife and I are concerned, that's currently our vision and game plan, is to do something to that effect. We're not rich by any means, but I was able as an academic to save a little bit. So we do have a very modest little nest egg, if you will, to be able to probably afford a cheap home. And if we can get the mortgage payments down low enough, then it could actually be, cheaper than paying rent in a big city. Ideally, it'll be somewhere kind of within driving distance of a cool city, maybe like Asheville or one of the other cities in that area. But probably not in a city. We probably won't be living in a city. And this could all change, but that is the current idea. So in fact, for people who think I'm just chasing clout or just trying to like get mega famous or get mega rich or something like that, my head, it could not be in a more different place, honestly. And so, yeah, I guess in the future, what I imagine is if, my projects keep kind of working out, then I'll occasionally go into the city to do events. Like, that would be awesome. That would probably be my ideal. I kind of live quietly in the woods somewhere and live cheaply and outside of social life. I really just don't like interacting with people that frequently. I think it keeps me weird to kind of be out in the woods or just, even just in Albuquerque, like somewhere out where there aren't that many people. And then by using that to kind of have an affordable lifestyle and also maintaining my weirdness, not becoming like socially compromised because I'm trying to be cool and hip in the social circles I'm embedded in, then once every few months, maybe 3 times a year, do some big event in a big city. And that would be the ideal, because then I get to meet people. I still get to be, have fun and do kind of creative, splashy things in the culture IRL, but I don't have to be in and of it and swimming in it on a daily basis. That would actually be my ideal. So that's the current vision. And I just thought I would share that, since some people seem to think that I'm just like trying to chase hype trains and like move to LA, like what's her face, Bonnie the Witten. I wish her the best, but that's not my game plan. I'm not like trying to go to LA to blow up and live there and like enter the LA scene or anything. Nothing like that. I want to check it out, and I want to kind of see what kind of waves I can make for fun for a short period of time while I'm there. So I'm intrigued to check it out, but I don't personally want to have anything to do with it for any type of long-term venture.